It's amazing how sometimes the simplest words can tell you the most. What if I told you that a straightforward list of names could actually reveal a commander's deepest, darkest fears? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to dive into one single ancient verse and see how a leader's choice of words shows a mind absolutely consumed by anxiety.
Okay, so picture this. We're on the epic battlefield of Kurukshetra. Two massive armies are staring each other down, ready for a war that's going to change everything. And Prince Duryodhana, the guy leading the Kauravas, walks up to his commander, his old teacher, Dronacharya, to give him the rundown on the enemy forces. But listen, this isn't just some casual update. You can just feel the tension. His words are practically dripping with anxiety. And this is what he says. Now, you're looking at the original Sanskrit here, but don't worry. You don't need to know how to pronounce any of it. What we're going to do is unpack it together, word by word, to really get at the hidden meaning and the incredible power behind it.
So let's get right into it. Time to put on our detective hats, because we're going to zoom in on the specific words Duryodhana chose to use. And trust me, every single word he picks is a clue. He kicks things off by saying, here. Right here on this very field. And what does he see? He sees heroes and mighty bowmen. So right off the bat, we know he's not talking about your average foot soldier. He's immediately acknowledging that the guys on the other side are the absolute elite.
But this is where it gets really interesting. He makes a comparison. He says these heroes are equal in the fight to two very specific people, Bhima and Arjuna. Now that's not just a random comment. In Duryodhana's mind, Bhima and Arjuna are the pinnacle. They are the boogeyman. They represent the absolute peak of martial power. And he doesn't stop there. He then starts rattling off specific names, Yuddhana, Virata, and Drupada, and he calls them great fighters, a title that basically means a single warrior who can take on thousands of enemies all by himself, a one-man army. So these aren't just generals, they're legends.
So you put all those pieces together, and this is what you get. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yuddhana, Virata, and Drupada. It sounds like a pretty standard, even respectful summary of the enemy's strength, right? But there is so much more going on just beneath the surface.
And that brings us to the psychology of it all. This is where we need to read between the lines. Why would he frame his report this way? Why use that specific comparison? Let's dig in and find out what Duryodhana is really trying to say.
Okay, here's the big reveal. Duryodhana isn't just making a list for his teacher. He's working through his own fears. He's basically verbalizing every major obstacle he sees standing between him and victory. Every name he mentions is another reason he's terrified they might lose.
And the benchmark he uses tells you everything you need to know. He takes his two greatest rivals, the two warriors that keep him up at night, Bhima and Arjuna, and uses them as the gold standard. When he says these other guys are equal to them, he's basically admitting that he sees the entire enemy command as being just as terrifying as his worst nightmares. That's respect for sure, but it's a respect born from deep, deep fear.
So, to put it simply, this is his calculus of fear. He looks across that field, and he doesn't just see a couple of tough opponents. No, he sees an entire command structure where every single leader is, in his mind, another Bhima or another Arjuna. It's a truly terrifying thought for him.
All right, so let's zoom out. What's the real takeaway here? What can this deep dive into just one verse really teach us about strategy, about communication, and about conflict?
Let's just quickly recap the journey. We started with the original words, we broke them down into their literal meaning, and then we uncovered the profound psychological insight. Duryodhana's speech isn't just an objective report, it's a strategic assessment that is 100% driven by his own fear.
And this really gets at a timeless truth, doesn't it? The most important information, the most powerful stuff, often isn't in what's being said out loud. It's hidden in how it's said. It's in the framing, the comparisons, the words we choose to use. The subtext is everything.
Which really leaves us with one final thing to think about. After seeing just how much Duryodhana gave away with a few carefully chosen words, it makes you wonder, how often do our own words, in our own lives, reveal a whole lot more than we ever really intend them to?